Hello and welcome to the second episode of our series about mental health, Mind Matters. My name is Afonso, I'm from Portugal, and with me today we have...
I'm Cecilia, I'm from France.
And I'm Kati from Austria.
So, in the first episode we talked about tips and tricks to deal with anxiety and stress. And today we are going to talk about a topic that we found that is really connected to this, so the influence of internet and social media in our mental health.
But first, we have a little disclaimer, like from the first episode. We are not experts, but we are really interested about this topic, obviously, and we did some research about it, we talked about it, and we experienced about it. So that's why we wanted to do this podcast. But we are not professional here. We are just volunteers from AUM and Chevos Association, and that's it.
Yeah, so starting off with facts and statistics, what we know is happening right now. So as mentioned last episode, anxiety and stress can be linked to our phone and media usage. One study in 2021 found out that the average European spends around 3 hours and 40 minutes on their phone each day, and this number is steadily increasing.
And we check other studies, and there is one that is saying that on average, some people touch their phone 52 times a day. It depends on the age, obviously, but it's we find it so huge. Come on. And there is another study that's also show that people from the whole world are checking their phone every 12 minutes, which means 80 times a day actually. So it's a lot. It's so huge.
And adding to this, we know that the attention span is getting slower and slower with each generation, and that students who use their phone regularly can only focus for 65 seconds, while workers in this case, can only do it for 3 minutes. So imagine the impact that can have. Also, teens who spend at least 5 hours a day on their phones have 71% more risk of depression compared to those who do it for 1 hour. So the main point here is to ask ourselves, why are we always going back to our phones? And the phones are an essential part of our lives nowadays, and the way we use them is changing the way our brain works. It's creating a pattern that focuses a lot on rewards, and for an instance, we are constantly grabbing our phones, and this is attributed to two main factors. One is to do with the psychology part, and the other due to the technological design. In the technological design of our phones, there is this reward system connected to dopamine. So the way we use social media often triggers the release of dopamine, so we get a lot of pleasure and we feel rewarded. When we get likes, comments, notifications, the simple sound of the notification bell can create this sense of accomplishment and validation, which is always encouraging us to go back. And on the other hand, if we are not checking our phones, we release cortisol, the stress hormone, which due to this, we're just anticipating that experience, that reward that we are not getting. So, for example, I can be on social media for 1 minute with my phone on my pocket, and the next second I'm coming back to it just because I'm feeling that stress due to it.
Okay, now moving on to the psychological effects. The first is social validation. We as human beings, we seek contact, we seek interactions, and sometimes it's not possible to have them in real life, or it's not enough, so we seek those interactions online. And another psychological effect, we also talked about it last episode, is that sometimes watching movies or being on our phones is a kind of way to escape reality, to escape stress or anxiety we feel at the moment. But it can also be a distraction when we're really bored. Another thing is that we can form the habit when we check our phone nowadays. It obviously has become a habit. And like Afonso already said, our brain forms these neural pathways that associate with the behavior and make it an automatic response to these text messages or sounds that our phone make. For me, for example, it's with Instagram. Even though I've just been in the app for 2 minutes ago, my head is already in this habit, you have to check what is going on, that I click on the app again, even though I know there's nothing new going on. And this leads to the last psychological effect, social pressure. Nowadays, everything is online, the news, new trends. And sometimes if you don't participate in these or you don't know about them, you can feel isolated and left out. And sometimes people even purposely leave you out of conversations because you cannot talk about something that has recently happened online.
And this leads us to our next question, that is like, what are actually the effects of these habits on our mental health? So we search for it, obviously. And when I'm talking about this, it's the effect when we use it too much. Not when it's balanced and you use it few times a day, but when you have too much connection, too much internet, too much social media, then this effect that I'm talking about can happen. So first, we talked about it in the last episode, but I will say it again here. With this easy access to information, it's actually like leading us to be anxious, because like we have all of this news that are coming from the old world that are most of the time, it's true, bad news. So it's like create this anxiety, this pressure, and this like, I don't know, if I want to give an example, would be climate change. Like we heard so many things about it on internet, social media and everything, that for me it's something that is really stressful. Another effect could be like the comparison and envy, because like I know that when I look at my Instagram wall, I can see like all these pretty women that have perfect life and that get up in the morning at 5 and do the yoga, do the sport, eat healthy and stuff like this. And me, I'm in my bed feeling like shit because I'm not doing all of this. And I feel like I should do the same, or I should, and if I do it once, twice, and then I cannot keep on going because I doing something else, because I'm too tired or everything. But it's like, it's like on one side lowering our self-esteem and also increasing on the other side anxiety, for me at least.
Also adding to this, we need to talk about cyberbullying, which means all the harassment and negative interactions we have in social media that can impact our mental health for sure, causing a lot of stress and anxiety and even depression. And on the other end, we have FOMO, so the fear of missing out, which is in every aspect of our life, like it's present in every aspect of our life, but here we are always in contact with it, so we feel more pressure to constantly be connected, to constantly be involved, which leads to anxiety and maybe a sense of exclusion.
Yeah, exactly. And another obvious effect is the addiction you can create when you are on the phone too much. You scroll on it every day and during the night, which therefore can lead to disrupting sleep pattern. And when you don't have a good like sleeping rhythm, or you sleep way less than you should, this can also lead to more anxiety, to more stress, to in general a bad physical and mental health. And yeah, so it has a bad impact on our sleep and therefore also a bad impact on our mental health. But just like last episode, we want to end on a positive note, and therefore we want to tell you what happens if you actually start using your phone less or actually quit using it. So obviously it's hard in the beginning. You feel maybe even more stress and anxiety for reasons we just told you. But then you can also feel also bad, like FOMO. Some people talk about increased blood pressure. But at around 3 days after you quit using it, the good things start to happen. And probably the first symptom you see, or like first reward, like say it like this, the first reward you see is by your friends, family and lovers, because you have real interactions with them and you're not distracted on the phone or ditch them because of something that happens on your phone.
It's also like when you stop using it, you become like better at work and at school, because actually your focus is increasing. We check one study that were saying that students were doing a test, like the same test, and half of them could use the phone and the other half couldn't. And actually the one who used the phone performed like on average 20% worse than the others. So it's like showing how the huge impact that it can have on our focus. So when you stop using it, it's also improving your cognition system. It's improving your sleep quality. Obviously, it's reducing stress. Some study even said that it's like reducing depression and loneliness. And also it can decrease like neck and wrist pain. But so it's like not only mental health, it's also physical health in a sense. And to close this podcast, let's say that we know that it's really hard because we are fighting with the same issues here. And what we notice is that to take small step and to go to set a goal that is achievable is like the first thing to do. Like, don't try to do something huge at the beginning, except if you really feel like it. But maybe like put a timer on Instagram or TikTok, like I did. Like after 10 minutes, my phone is telling me, okay, it's 10 minutes, now you need to stop. And sometimes I stop, sometimes I don't, but it's a beginning. And if you feel like it, delete the social media completely and try and see how it's going with you and see how you react and how you can. If you are more focused on stuff like this, the best is to experiment and try to find what is working with you.
But yeah, that has been it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to look at even more information related to this, please check the description down below. Also, use your 10 minutes of social media time to follow us and subscribe to our channel. And yeah, I have been Afonso.
I'm Cecilia.
I'm Kati, and we're from the Aum and Chevos Association.
And see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes.